Hi, I'm back again. Um, First of all, I'm going to start off by telling you need a pen, a pencil, a notepad for you to be able to take notes because the information that I have to issue out to you today is very important. You are going to need this to be able to stand and to determine what spirit the enemy has sent amongst you to hinder you, to stop you from reaching your promised land, the place where God has called you to be. So we're gonna start off. Today is just gonna be on Deuteronomy. We're going to only do today chapter 1, and tomorrow and on and so forth, we'll work our way through Deuteronomy. Okay, so we're going to start chapter 1, which is the introduction to Moses first addressing Israel, God's people, with what it is that God is telling him to tell them to do. Okay, so these are the words that Moses spoke to all the people of Israel while they were in the wilderness, east of the Jordan River. They were camped in the Jordan Valley near Suf, between Paran on one side and Tephel, Laban, Hazeroth, and Zahab on the other. Normally, it takes only 11 days to travel from Mount Sinai to Kadesh Barnea, going by way on Mount Seir. But 40 years after the Israelites left Egypt, on the first day of the 11th month, Moses addressed the people of Israel, telling them everything the Lord had commanded him to say. This took place after he had defeated King Sihon of the Amorites, who ruled in Heshbon, and Edrei had defeated King Og of Bashan, who ruled in Ashtaroth, while the Israelites were in the land of Moab, east of the Jordan River. Moses carefully explained the Lord's instructions as follows. It goes on to verse 6 and it says, "When we were at Mount Sinai, the Lord our God said to us, 'You have stayed at this mountain long enough.'" What is Mount Sinai? Mount Sinai is the divine truth from divine good. It is a place where truth will be revealed. It is where the 10 commandments came from, and all the statutes of the church, because they represented the spiritual and celestial truths and goods of the Lord's kingdom. So Mount Sinai is a place where God has actually given you the knowledge that you need to be able to move forward with where he is sending you. They were there. God had told them, you had been there long enough. It's time for you to go out and go get where I'm sending, what I'm sending you to go and redeem. It's yours. Go. Okay? It is time to break camp and move on. Go to the hill country of the Amorites, into all the neighboring regions, the Jordan Valley, the hill country, the western foothills, the Negev in the coastal plain. Go to the land of the Canaanites and to Lebanon, and all of the way to the great Euphrates River. Look, I am giving all this land to you. Go in and occupy it, for it is the land the Lord swore to give to your ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and to all their descendants. People, today, of course, we can't go and travel to all those places. Today, it's a spiritual thing. It's spiritual. The first spirit we're going to start breaking down is the Amorite. It means to say, to speak, or to boast self. This spirit wants to cause you to sin by slander, gossip, anger, lies, exaggerations, boasting, and loud talking. This spirit is so devious that most of us yield to it without even knowing it. Mumbling and complaining is the source of this strong, wicked spirit. The same spirit caused Moses not to enter into the promised land. You could go to Numbers 20, verse 10. Numbers chapter 20, verse 10. Took some of the pages out of my oh, here we go. Out of my Bible, Lord. Okay. Verse 10. Numbers chapter 20, verse 10. It says, then he and Aaron summoned the people to come and gather at the rock. Listen, you rebels, he shouted. He shouted, must we bring you water from this rock? He was angry. The people had come against him so hard that it caused him to sin against God by getting angry. He was dealing with an Amorite spirit that caused him to become an Amorite himself spiritually. It caused him to sin. And for that, he wasn't able to enter into the promised land. It hindered him. How many of us are like that today? To where we're in matters. We're murmuring. We're complaining. That's not what God sent us here to do. And what we have to realize is that the reason why we are doing that, the real reason, we're afraid. The thing that we're facing is we feel it's too much for us. Your Mount Sinai might be your church. You're going there to be uplifted and to be strengthened in order to be able to face what you're coming against. But while sitting there, you might not fully understand all the time what the preacher is saying, because they're explaining it to you, but they're explaining it to you in a way that they themselves only understand. Sometimes you have to take time out to seek it, break it down, and come to that meaning yourself. That way you will be able to understand what it is that you're actually dealing with and what it is that your preacher is trying to get you to see. Sometimes it goes further than just sitting in the church and taking notes from their point of view of what God has laid upon them, how I explained it to them. Sometimes you got to take that extra step to break it down yourself, to figure out what it is you're dealing with. Okay, so as we continue with the spirit of the Amorites, It is an obsession with with earthly fame and glory. It demeanors. Amari means pride. Pride. And the need for public approval. It is an evangelistic grace that achieves much in the natural, but inwardly is weak. Talking about in the spirit realm is weak. It's strong in the natural, but spiritually is lacking, causing you to become weak. Okay, so then we continue. Oh, I'm sorry. We go on to the Canaanites because that was mentioned in that in verses 6 through 8. That was mentioned. So the Canaanite spirit, you will know that that is near you or either in you because is mostly about materialistic things. It's about materialistic things. Okay, so a Canaanite spirit deals with addictions, perversions, exaggerated. It is a person who continuously exaggerates. Pleasing. Canaanites in their names mean people pleasing. It's a spirit that causes you to be a people pleaser, meaning that you go out of your way, even so much so that you will sin against God just to please people. Okay. The meaning of Canaanites is humiliation and embarrassment and or shame. That is what those are the signs that I just named to you that deals with the Canaanite spirit and the Amorites. Those are the first two places that God told them to go through and conquer through Moses. They had already been at Mount Sinai, received instructions, the do's and the don'ts, and to build them up in faith, to let them know that God is with them in all these places to where he was sending them to. But they still weren't ready. And that's how many of us are today. We're in a place right now. If we don't learn how to get a grasp on allowing these spirits to come in and to cause us to continue to sin against God, if we don't get a grasp on that, we're going to end up missing what God has for us to get. We got to get a grasp on it. We need to understand what it is that we are fully dealing with, because we really don't understand like we think we do. We don't. Because if that's the case, why is hindrance here? Why can't we move forward and step out in the things that God has for us to do. I don't know about you, but I'm not going to let nothing and no one stop me from being able to get to what God has for me to get by causing me to not have self-control, because that's what it all comes down to. Self-control. If you have self-control, you can control the thoughts that come to your mind that ail you to say something that you shouldn't say. You can control that pride that tries to rise up in your heart with the things that God is causing you to be able to reap. You should always remain humble, regardless to wherever you go, whatever it is that you receive. You have to be humble first and always remain that way. So we're down to verse number 9. It says, Moses continued, "At that time I told you, you are too great a burden for me to carry. All by myself. The Lord your God has increased your population, making you as numerous as the stars." So there Moses was basically saying that what God gave him to do is too much for him. He can't do it. He is basically to the point where he is so overwhelmed by the people coming to him with their murmuring and their complaining. He's like, I can't do it no more. And basically it's like he's angry because he's like, I can't go into the promised land already because of y'all. So I don't care what y'all coming to me about no more. Y'all done already messed me up. I've been fighting since day one for y'all. And now I can't even much go into the very thing God sent me out to be able to see. I'm only going to be able to look upon it, and I can't even walk into it. Because I can't get my anger and my mouth under control. I allowed y'all to the spirits on y'all to jump off on me when I know what God told me to do. And I know God was with me from day one. Now I can't even much walk into it. So I don't care what y'all talking about right now. So look, this is what I'm going to tell you to do. And this is what he said. And may the Lord, the God of your ancestors, multiply you 1,000 times more and bless you as he promised. But you are such a heavy load to carry. How can I deal with all your problems and bickering? Choose some well-respected man from each tribe who are known for their wisdom and understanding, and I will appoint them as your leaders. So the anointing that God has blessed on them, he don't want to use it because he can't get into the promised land. He can't go where they're going. He mad. So he's putting his duties on somebody else. Let them deal with your issues. Then you responded. The people responded. Your plan is a good one. So I took the wise and respected men you have selected from your tribes and appointed them to serve as guides and officials, as judges and officials, over you. Some were responsible for 1,000 people, some for 100, some for 50, and some for 10. At that time, I instructed the judges, you must hear the causes of your fellow Israelites and the foreigners living among you. Be perfectly fair in your decisions and impartial in your judgments. Hear the cases of those who are poor as well as those who are rich. Don't be afraid of anyone's anger. For the decision you make is God's decision. Bring me any cases that are too difficult for you, and then I will handle it. If it's a must. If you can't handle it, well, then I guess I'll handle it then. I'll go ahead and then I'll go ahead and do whatever it is you need me to handle if y'all can't handle it. Jesus, Jesus. And at that time, I gave you instructions about everything you were to do. Then, just as the Lord our God commanded us, we left Mount Sinai. I've already told you what Mount Sinai is. And traveled through the great and terrifying wilderness, as you yourselves remember, and headed toward the hill country of the Amorites. When we arrived at Kadesh Barnea, I said to you, you have reached the hill country of the Amorites. The Lord our God is giving us. Look, he has placed the land in front of you. Go and occupy it as the Lord, the God of your ancestors, has promised you. Don't be afraid. Don't be discouraged. But you all came to me and said, first, let's send out scouts to explore the land for us. They will advise us on the best route to take and which towns we should enter. This seemed like a good idea to me, so I chose 12 scouts. And from each of your tribes, they headed for the hill country and came to the valley of Eshcol. What's Eshcol? Eshcol is the valley of grapes or cluster. And explored it. They picked some of its fruit and brought it back to us. And they reported, the land the Lord has given us, indeed, it is a good land. They brought back the fruit. It was ripe. They were able to eat it. So the land was good. The place where God wants to take you is good. But before you get there, you got to get all this stuff off of you. The stuff that's stopping his hand from being able to move in your life like it wants to. Because we can't control this. And we can't get this under control. These two things are running us. We're supposed to be running it. But you rebelled against the command of your Lord God and refused to go in. You complained in your tents and said, the Lord must hate us. That's why he brought us here from Egypt to hand us over to the Amorites. What are the Amorites? We have discussed this. I'm hoping that you all took notes on this. But it wasn't the Lord that handed you over. It was you who handed you over to these spirits, causing you to slander, to gossip, to get angry, to lie, to make exaggerations, to boast yourself. Loud talking is devious. I just told you that sometime when you do it, you don't even know what it is that you're doing. The Lord is giving you keys today and knowledge for you to know what you are doing that's hindering you. So you'll know what's stopping his hand in your life. Why you can't move forward. Because of your murmuring and your complaining. That's why he has brought us here from Egypt to hand us over to the Amorites to be slaughtered. Where can we go? Our brothers have demoralized us with their report. They tell us the people of the land are taller and more powerful than we are. And their towns are large, with walls rising high into the sky. We even saw giants there, the descendants of Anak. What is Anak? Long-necked man. So they were giants. What are giants today? Your bills, sickness, anything that you're looking at that seems to be too much for you, causing you to be afraid, to lose your mind, and continue to let these spirits come in, causing you to sin against the Most High and to hinder his hand from moving the way that we need it to move right now. Today, some of us are ready, but now listening to this, you're determining you're not ready. I'm one. This sure put me in check today. I refuse to let these spirits enter within me or in my dwelling. I don't have time. I'm trying to get my keys so I can walk through these doors opening up for me in this season. I got to get myself in check. I can't do it. I can't do it. I won't do it. I can't and I won't. I can't and I won't. But I said to you, don't be shocked or afraid of them. The Lord your God is going ahead of you. He will fight for you, just as you saw him do in Egypt. And you saw how the Lord your God cared for you all along the way as you traveled through the wilderness. Just as a father cares for his child. Now he has brought you to this place. But even after all he did, you refuse to trust the Lord your God, who goes before you looking for the best places to camp, guiding you with a pillar of fire by night and a pillar of cloud by day. When the Lord heard your complaining, he became very angry. So he solemnly swore, not one of you from this wicked generation will live to see the good land I swore to give to your ancestors, except Caleb. What is Caleb? Caleb back then, he was the son of Jephunneh. But the meaning of Caleb is the faithful. The faithful. So the only way that you will be able to enter into this land and to remain in it, the only ones who can access it is the faithful. If you're just tuning in the end, go back and please watch the whole video. You're going to need pen and paper to take notes on what I am giving you to see. What I am the keys God is giving you towards being able to move forward to the promised land that he has for you. So you're going to need pen and paper. Okay. So we were saying, moving on to the next verse, he will see this land because he has followed the Lord completely. I will give to him and his descendants some of the very land he explored during this scouting mission. And the Lord was also angry with me because of you. He said to me, Moses, not even you will enter the promised land. Instead, your assistant, Joshua, son of Nun, will lead Israel as they take possession of it. So, like I was telling you earlier, the reason why Moses couldn't enter within the land was because he could not get his anger under control. God had already told him what he was meant to go out to do. God used him to free the children of Israel. But at the same time, doubt was still present during the beginning process. He knew what God had sent him out to do. He knew what it took to be able to stay in the presence of God from going in up to the Mount of Sinai, where the children of Israel weren't even allowed to go near. He spent time with God. He knew what God was against. He knew, but he's blaming them. But today we can't blame nobody else but ourselves. We can't blame people. We have to take responsibility for our own doing. Here, he wasn't taking responsibility for his doing. He wasn't. He was blaming the children of Israel. Yeah, they did some provoking, but, he still was supposed to take responsibility for his own doing because God had already told him what to do and what not to do. Okay. So after he told Moses, that he was passing it on to Joshua, he began to give Moses instruction of how to handle Joshua and what to instruct him to do. So first off, he told him to encourage him, for he will lead Israel as they take possession of it. I will give the land to your little ones, your innocent children. You were afraid they would be captured, but they will be the ones who occupy it. As for you, turn around now and go on back through the wilderness toward the Red Sea. How many of us, we know we're right there at that door? And because you haven't fully gotten out all those toxic things that's weighing you down, you got to turn back around and go back to the very thing that God pulled you out from. How many times have we stepped out and moved forward into something, and later on that door had to be shut because of our own actions, disobedience, not doing what God told us to do? Then you confessed, we have sinned against the Lord. We will go into the land and fight for it as the Lord our God has commanded us. So your men strapped on their weapons, thinking it would be easy to attack the hill country. But the Lord told me to tell you, do not attack, for I am not with you. So they angered God so much so that his presence it wasn't amongst them at that time. He was angry. He was angry. He was angry. If you go ahead on your own, you will be crushed by your enemies. This is what I told you, but you would not listen. Instead, you again rebelled against the Lord's command and arrogantly went into the hill country to fight. But the Amorites who lived there came out against you like a swarm of bees. All those thoughts, toxic thoughts, causing you to wonder and go crazy, trying to figure out how you gonna fix this, how you gonna put this together. Why, God? Why is this happening? Oh, God. Causing you to stress out, causing you to stay in depression, causing you to feel like that pit you can't get out of the pit. Every time you try to get out of the pit, you dug right back into the pit, deeper and deeper and deeper until it just swallows you whole. Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. This is what I told you. But you would not listen. Instead, you rebelled against the Lord's commandment and arrogantly went into the hill country to fight. But the Amorites who lived there came out against you like a swarm of bees. They chased and battered you all the way from Seir to Harmah. Then you returned and wept before the Lord, but he refused to listen. So you stayed there at Kadesh for a long time. Oh, Jesus. He told us not to go out and try to fight the battle alone. But a lot of us have tried to handle our situations today on our own. But the battle that we are fighting, we can't do it by ourselves. We need him. We need him more now than ever. We need him. We cannot battle by ourselves. This is too much for us to handle alone. So in verse 44, he spoke of they chased them all the way back, all the way from the Mount of Seir, where they were to receive the commandments and knowledge from God as to what to do to be able to handle the situation, all the way to Harmah. Harmah is a broken rock, banned or devoted to destruction, shut in. Some of us today, we feel shut in, like we don't have no way out. We stuck. We're ready to go and step out into the things God has called us to do, but it scared us all the way back to the place of feeling stuck. Consecrated, dedicated, and a solemn. It's a solemn, a sanctuary, never to be redeemed, destroyed, laid waste in the inside. You feel like you just laid waste. The pressure that this time has put on you has caused you to feel like there's no way out for disobedience. And some of us, like, we were disobedient and we didn't even know the things that we were saying. We didn't even know that we were sinning, some of us. Also, in verse 46, it speaks on a place called Kadesh. It says, so you stayed there at Kadesh for a long time. What is Kadesh? It's a sacred desert of wandering. God, I wonder How I'm gonna get out of it? How I'm gonna get out this time, God? Lord, I wonder how long it's gonna take for this process to be. God, I wonder what would have happened if I would have done something like this. God, I wonder if I would have done things differently, how this would have turned out. How long, Lord? How long, Lord? I'm ready. How long, Lord, before this passes, Lord? How long, Lord, before I can move to the next level, Lord? We crying out. How long, Lord? How long? It's the wilderness. After 40 years in the wilderness, 40, Israel still came out. Man, they were supposed to come out swinging. I'm talking about ready to take over and to reap everything God had for them to get. 40 years in the wilderness. I don't know about y'all, but I don't want to be like them. 40 years in the wilderness, and I'm still not getting it. I still haven't gotten my thoughts, my mind, and my pride in control. I'm still trying to do this on my own. I'm still missing the mark. But I'm crying out to God, God, how long, Lord? Please, Lord. I'm ready, Lord. Please, Lord. How long? Why is this happening to me? Why everybody else life going on and I'm stuck? I can't move. I'm ready to move forward, God. What I gotta do? Lord, are you angry with me? What have I done, Lord? What have I done, God? And then comes the anger. All right, shoot, I can't. I'm gonna have to go out here and get it how I gotta get it. I gotta call somebody because I can't. Somebody gotta bring me out of this here because this taking too long and I'm ready to go. Ugh, I can't do this here. I done waited long enough and he ain't showed up yet. I gotta get out of here. I gotta go do something. I gotta move. I can't do it. This is too much for me. God, why you appointed me? Everybody else out here going, they got their life going, they happy, they get married. She got her man, why I can't get mine? She got that brand new 2018 car. I'm tired of looking at everybody else's life going, and I feel like mine is just stuck. Take time out. And I pray that you took notes. Take time out and go over these notes. Digest it. Heck, even go out and seek to break it down further. Because man ain't perfect. We always miss something. But I guaranteed that if you obey this preaching that God has placed in my heart to put out for you all who are tired of being stuck, who are tired of wondering, and you're tired of these different spirits, because it's sent from the enemy. The places where you are going, the places where you are, the enemy already sent it there before you. They knew you were coming. And yes, there are some spirits that are bold enough to try to stand up, but against God, it won't stand. You want the presence of God to continue to dwell amongst you? Put yourself in check. Don't question God. Question yourself, your heart. Find out what it is between all of this information that you received today, causing you to be stuck, to be hindered, to not be able to walk in the fulfillment of God that He has for your life. There are more spirits sent from the enemy to destroy God's purpose in your life. And I'm going to keep on breaking it down to you. It's probably going to take me maybe a week or two because it's so much. But I'm going to be back on here every day until I complete it up. But the spirits that I named to you today sent from the enemy are just a few. There are many more that seek to come up against you and to devour you and to send you back into the wilderness. Aren't you tired of that wilderness yet? Do something about it. Apply this to that wilderness while you're in that wilderness. While you're in depression, while you're in anger, look back. I've given you the breakdown of it. Determine which spirit is hindering you and speak against it. It has to flee. Well, until tomorrow, everyone, you all have a blessed day.